Tension builds early as Ivanchuk and Bacrot explore the depths of the King's Indian attack Sicilian variation in French Top 16 Club Championship 2025 Higher Pool Round 3. Knight f3. On d5. On g3 leads us into King's Indian attack Sicilian variation. On c5. On c4. Threatening pawn takes d5. On d4 played by Bacrot. On e3. Knight c6. On takes d4. On takes d4. Bishop g2. On e5. Bacrot is planning to play. On e4. Queen e2. Queen e7. Knight g1. Knight b4. Queen takes e4. Knight c2 check. King d1. Queen takes e4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King castled kingside played by Ivanchuk. On f6. On d3. Bishop g4. Knight a3. Knight g e7. Knight c2. On a5. On a3. Queen d7. Bishop d2 it is novelty move. On h5. On b4. On a4. On b5. Threatening pawn takes c6. Knight d8 played by Bacrot. Bishop b4. On h4. Bacrot is aiming to play. Queen f5. Rook e1. Knight e6. Rook e4. Pawn takes g3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Queen d2 played by Ivanchuk. Threatening knight takes h4. Bishop h3 played by Bacrot. Rook a e1. Bishop takes g2. King takes g2. Knight e6. Bacrot is planning to play. King castled queenside. Queen e2. On g5. King g1. On g4. Knight takes h4. Rook takes h4 and dominate the board. Queen e2 played by Ivanchuk. Knight g6. Bacrot considers playing. Knight ef4 check. On takes f4. Knight takes f4 check and establish a winning position. King h1 played by Ivanchuk. King f7. Queen e4. Knight c5. Threatening knight takes e4. Bishop takes c5 played by Ivanchuk. Bishop takes c5. Rook g1. On h3. Knight d2. On f5. Threatening pawn takes e4. Queen f3 played by Ivanchuk. King g8. On g4. Threatening pawn takes f5. Knight h4 played by Bacrot. Queen d5 check. Queen takes d5 check. Pawn takes d5. On e4. Threatening pawn takes d3. On takes e4 played by Ivanchuk. On d3. Knight e3. Pause the video and find the best move for Bacrot. Bishop takes a3 is logical continuation as Knight ec4. Bishop b4. Rook e3. Knight g2. Rook takes d3. Pawn takes g4. Bacrot have small advantage. Let's proceed to the main game. Threatening pawn takes c2. Knight e3 played by Ivanchuk. Pawn f4 slightly worse move played by Bacrot. Threatening pawn takes e3. Knight ec4 played by Ivanchuk. Ivanchuk is planning to play rook gf1, rook d8, rook d1, king h7, knight e5, rook he8, knight takes d3, bishop e3, knight f3, and take decisive advantage. Bishop takes f2 played by Bacrot. On e5. Bishop takes e1. Rook takes e1. On f3. On e6. Knight g2. Think carefully what is the best move for Ivanchuk. Rook e5 is best move here because Knight f4. On e7. King h7. On d6. Knight g6. Rook e3. Ivanchuk have small advantage. Let's proceed to the main variation. Ivanchuk might go for King g1. King f8. On e7 check and secure a stronghold in the game. Knight g2 played by Bacrot. Threatening knight takes e1. Rook e4 is not the best move played by Ivanchuk. On f2 take a moment to spot the best move for Ivanchuk. Pawn d6 is a strong choice since rook d8. On e7. King f7. Pawn promotes to bishop at ex d8. Rook takes d8. Knight f1. Ivanchuk have small advantage. Let's go to the main game. On f2. On e7 slightly worse move played by Ivanchuk. King f7. Stop here and find the strongest move for Ivanchuk. On d6 is best move here because rook he8. On g5. Knight e1. On g6 check. King f6. Rook e3. Ivanchuk heading towards winning. Shifting to the main game. Ivanchuk intends to play pawn promotes to queen at e8 check. Rook takes e8. Rook takes e8 check and secure a stronghold in the game. King f7 played by Bacrot. Knight d6 check. Do not rush. Can you find the strongest move for Bacrot? King g6 is a strong choice since Knight f1. Pawn b6. Knight c4. King f7. On d6. Rook he8. Still Bacrot is losing. Let's go to the main game. Knight d6 check. Slightly worse move played by Ivanchuk. King f6. Do not rush. Can you find the strongest move for Ivanchuk? Rook e6 check is logical continuation as King g5. Knight 6 e4 check. King takes g4. Knight takes f2 check. King g5. Knight takes d3. Ivanchuk have small advantage. Let's proceed to the main variation. King f6 turns the tide in the opponent's favor. Played by Bacrot. Bacrot might go for rook ac8, rook e6 check, king g5, knight f7 check, King h4. Rook c6. Pawn takes c6 and gain a significant edge. Pawn promotes to queen at e8 is a mistake played by Ivanchuk. Ivanchuk wants to play queen e6 check. King g5. Knight f3 mate and establish a winning position. Rook takes e8 played by Bacrot. Knight takes e8 check. King g6. Bacrot intends to play rook f8. Knight f1. Pawn d2. Rook d4. Knight e3. Rook takes d2. Knight takes f1 and take decisive advantage. Knight d6 played by Ivanchuk. Rook d8. Threatening rook takes d6. Knight f5 played by Ivanchuk. King f6. Pawn d6. Ivanchuk is preparing to play rook e7. King g5. Rook takes g7 check and take decisive advantage. Pawn g6 played by Bacrot. Threatening pawn takes f5. Knight g3 played by Ivanchuk. Rook takes d6. Rook takes a4. King g7. Knight ge4. Threatening knight takes d6. Rook e6 played by Bacrot. Rook d4. Knight h4. Bacrot might go for knight f3. Rook d7 check. King f8. Knight f1. Rook takes e4 and gain a significant edge. Knight f1 played by Ivanchuk. Ivanchuk might go for knight ed2. Knight g2. Rook takes d3 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn g5 played by Bacrot. Knight ed2. Rook e1. Bacrot is preparing to play knight f3. Rook takes d3. Knight takes d2 and take decisive advantage. Rook takes d3 played by Ivanchuk. King f6. Rook takes h3. King e5. Rook d3. Pawn b6. Pawn h3. Knight g6. Rook f3. Ivanchuk claimed a well-earned victory.